it was the transition of doing the same as what I give for free and then charging for it. So the mindset shift in that was this constant doubt of my worth. Hi, I'm Kat Meffan, and I help people that feel slightly overwhelmed in life get from feeling disconnected to feeling connected in their body, in their mind, and in their soul.
Kat, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, let's talk about building your business, the journey that you've been on. It's been such a pleasure to watch you grow over the years. And I guess when you and I first started, the wellness industry wasn't really a thing, was it? It was such a, little tiny niche of people who all knew each other and were kind of all in the same community. And now it's exploded into this, multi-trillion-dollar industry.
Yeah, I mean, we were in it when people didn't have to hire a photographer to take their photos.
Let's talk about the early days of building your personal brand, your expert brand. Can you just tell us a little bit about how you discovered yoga and meditation and what kind of got you started as a teacher in this space?
Yeah, sure. So my background is very much in movement. I was a gymnast and a dancer from a really young age. So for me, it's always been a really integral part of my own personal identity and like how I release my own, maybe be it stress or tension or emotion. But it wasn't until I started practicing yoga that I realized that there was also this huge mental aspect to my movement. And I started practicing about 11 years ago. The first yoga class I ever went to was with my mum at the local leisure centre. And I just, as somebody that had been a dancer and had done gymnastics, struggled with quite a few injuries, I kind of thought, oh, it's going to be so easy. Like it's just a physical practice. I went to yoga fully as a physical practice. And then I'm there in like this trikonasana, this triangle pose, thinking, what on earth are these muscles? I can't even, it's so hard. And it was just this really, really nice for me as somebody that had done very like impactful, like, really push activities. It was a really nice way for me to slow it down and to discover that there was like this whole other side of movement.
In those early days, can you talk about where you were in your career? So what were you doing for work? Were you foreseeing that this would become your job? Because, 5-6 years ago, like this wasn't, as we said, a really clearly defined industry where you could say, I'm going to build a successful career as whatever, a teacher of yoga or an expert in yoga.
So I was, my background's in marketing and PR, and I didn't love it. I wasn't kind of cut out for the 9 to 5. I remember having those Sunday night stresses and panic attacks of oh gosh, what's happening this week and what have I got to go to? And I remember numerous Sunday nights in tears because I didn't want to go to work. And it was like that stress and that feeling of that. And then I sort of went from that, and then I did the yoga teacher training. But I think the beauty of my training is because I didn't want to be a teacher necessarily, I didn't have any expectation. So I knew that I wasn't where I wanted to be, but I was exploring my future without knowing it was my future. It was like this hobby. It was a love. It was an interest. It was a passion. And then I took a risk and I quit my PR and marketing job to design a jewelry collection. My dad is a goldsmith. And so I've worked for the jewelry business, for my family business since I was like 13. So I went down that avenue and thinking that was my future. And though I loved that and it was great and creative, it was sort of like filling this gap whilst I subconsciously didn't know that I was working on my future. Does that make any sense? And it was, yeah. I think that's what's so beautiful about it is that it really evolved from a passion and a personal love rather than I need to make money. I need to fill my time. I need to have these physical material things in my life. And I think, yeah, that's maybe part of the reason why it's ended up being so successful, is because it's come from such a deep, deep place of like truth and authenticity for myself.
Was it a significant mindset shift for you to go through to move from being someone who had given out free content for so long to being somebody who was now charging for their expertise?
Yeah. And what was odd is that it wasn't like I hadn't charged before, because I'd had people on retreats. I'd done workshops, I'd done classes, but it was the transition of doing the same as what I give for free and then charging for it. So the mindset shift in that was this constant doubt of my worth, of people aren't going to want to pay for it. And I really had to set out at launch, I set out that my goal number of members that would sign up. And I times it by 5. And since then, I've done the work away from that, because there's been kind of like journeys through the process where like the memberships has dipped a bit and things like that. So, but right at the start, I needed that little ego boost, that little bit of reassurance that I am worthy. And yes, it came from an outside source, which was lovely. But then since then, I've very much done the inner work to now not need the outside reassurance.
What is one thing that you wish that you'd known when you first started in your business journey?
I wish I'd known that it was okay to ask for help. I think I'm going to go with that one, because at the start I didn't. And I'm so glad that now I do all the time.
What is one thing that you wish that you'd done sooner in your business?
I wish that I had rebranded sooner. And not been too, again, it came from a place of fear, through like thinking, oh, if I change things, will people leave if I change things? But, change, it takes a while for people to get used to. But if they're there and they're committed to you and you're still offering them something great, then how something looks and the name of it shouldn't necessarily matter. So yeah, I wish I'd probably done that a little bit sooner.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. Tell me why you do what you do.
Because I get to make people feel amazing. I get to make their energy come alive in their body, in their soul. I get to make people smile, and I get to make people cry. And that sounds like a terrible thing, but I get to make people release blocked energy. And that is really special. And I feel very honored to do that job.
Yeah, incredible to be able to hold that space for people who really, really need that, and especially right now.
Exactly, yeah.
What's the best part about your job, kind of day to day?
That it's so different, that no day is the same. And there are days where I struggle. That's why I need a dog in my life. I need a little bit of routine. But I love that I can do my job from anywhere in the world, and that it takes on, day to day, my job can take on a totally different path. And I love that about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell me, what's the best piece of advice that you've received along the way?
It was something I read in a book, and it was years ago. And this was before I actually launched the business. And at the time I read this kind of like quote, and I put it down to, I was going through some like problems with eating disorders and stuff like that. But actually it has stayed with me. And it's, don't rush something that you want to last forever. And so that, not only did that stay with me when I was having, numerous kind of like personal problems, but in my business as well, it was like, don't rush it. You don't have to have all the answers straight away. And like we've been saying, I think like the theme of this podcast is just evolution. Things evolve, and that they take time to do that.
You've talked about how brand partnerships were a really big initial part of building your business, and also financially the initial stage of kind of remunerating your expertise. So building those brand partnerships, you've headlined amazing festivals, and I'm sure that's all been a really powerful part of your business in its own right. But I'm eager to hear about the choice to launch your own business, because in terms of sustainability and the long term, it feels like that is something that you own. It is your business. You're able to control that. You're able to build your team around it. What were some of the driving factors for you of creating a brand that was your business and within your control to grow and scale?
Yeah, so mine was definitely, well, it was a few different factors, but partly the thinking about the life that I want going forwards. You know, social media is a great thing, but I don't want to be on social media when I'm having children and stuff like that. It's not, I have the utmost respect for people that do it, but for me, it's something that I want to be able to move away from. So, and everything on social media was under my name. And even though I am currently the only teacher on Soul Sanctuary, there is plans for growth, because in time, I want to move away from me being the brand and Soul Sanctuary being a brand in its own right, which it is, you know, very like slowly and surely becoming. So it was kind of about it from a selfish point of view. It was about really being able to create the life that I want, you know, being able to travel and still work and still, you know, bring in money, but from wherever I am in the world was really important for me. And I couldn't necessarily do that just working with brands. You know, they want to send you things to your house and they want you to be taking photos in, you know, in the UK where most of your followers are. And that to me is great and it's amazing. And it's, you know, it's lucrative. It's, you know, I can't deny that it's been a huge, huge help to me. But in my long-term goal wasn't about that. And also I really wanted to do something. I really wanted to do something that helped people, that was meaningful, that actually that I could put my personality into. And I think that I hope that I've done that with Soul Sanctuary. You know, we have this community, and I don't, when I film my videos, I don't edit out the mistakes. I mean, I do if they're like really big mistakes, but in the same way that if you came to my class in person and I got my left and my right wrong, you're going to be there. I can't edit it out. So that's my thing with what I film now, is that it is very much like you're with me in my home. We're together in my home, you're in yours, I'm in mine, and we're just kind of like chilling on the mat, doing our thing. It's not a huge, big production or anything like that. And I wanted to really speak to people on kind of that like personal level where we can resonate with each other.
In terms of actually building the platform and saying, right, I'm going to launch a digital membership, what kind of expertise did you already have there? And where did you sort of say to yourself, right, I'm going to need some outside help here?
So obviously I've been doing the filming and the editing and the uploading, all of that stuff I've been doing on YouTube for years. So that to me wasn't kind of anything new. The point of like, you know, being able to set up an e-commerce site, you know, a membership, emails, all of that stuff, because I've never been good at marketing emails. It's probably my biggest downfall in my business, and I'll hold my hands up and say it. I'm just useless. I was very lucky to already have an amazing guy called Phil, just the most incredible website guy, and he had already made the template for my blog. And I just said to him, I was like, Phil, if I wanted to launch a membership, do you think you could do it? I was going through this quite rocky time in my life at that point. And I wanted to be creative and I wanted to do what I knew. And I was happy to throw myself into it. But I wasn't in a space to feel overwhelmed with having to learn something new. Like, you know, people that do it themselves and they put it all onto like a ready-made platform. I wasn't quite, I don't know, I just didn't feel like I had that capacity. Mm-hmm. And he'd never done anything like it before. And he was like, yeah, let's make it happen. And in fairness to him, like we did it, like I said, in about a month. I filmed all the videos, we built the platform, we launched on, I think, like the 20th of December, ready to have like the 31. So we launched with a challenge that I do every January, because I knew that that would be the best way to get people in. But yeah, so he was like my main point of like expertise outside of just what I knew. And the rest of it was just research.
And what have been some of the challenges or things that you've learned so far about kind of building a successful membership? What would you say are the critical things for somebody thinking about doing it?
There's always going to be challenges, just as a general rule. Just because it launches as, and is successful at launch, doesn't mean there aren't going to be dips along the way. I think that, there's also going to be times where you might see your revenue going up and up and up. And then there's going to be times where you need to say, actually, for me to make that go up maybe to the next level, I need to invest in something, which means it needs to go down for however long. And that for me, this year when I totally rebranded, and I spent a lot of money on that. So it was kind of felt like quite a big risk because I was taking quite a lot out of my profit to do that. But then the pros that have come from it were so worth it.
I've loved chatting to you. Thank you so much for sharing your journey and your insights and just such practical advice with our listeners. You're incredible and so inspiring.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been an honor.